mass, the case fatality rate's like 0.1 to 0.3 according to USC.
Is it really? That's reassuring.
USC.
Everybody here's been vaccinated anyway.
USC and LA County Public Health came out with a study. They found that there are 7,000 cases in California, but they really believe that there are anywhere from 221,000 to 442,000 people who were infected.
Really?
Yeah.
And so that makes it 0.1 to 0.3. Does a study to come out with? Or?
Yeah, just give it to that. So it suggests that the case fatality rate is 10. It seems to be.
Wow.
Which puts you right in line with the flu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
So it was a hoax.
I don't think it was a hoax.
Let's welcome retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Dakota Wood, now at Heritage Foundation. Colonel, great to have you on. Your reaction to the U.S. intelligence community believes that China intentionally concealed the severity of the outbreak in January in order to hoard and to pull in medical supplies from around the world. Your reaction to that story?
Well, it's good that it's more than just the U.S. saying that, so to have our allies saying the same sort of thing, reaching those conclusions. And it's not surprising at all, if it turns out to be accurate, that the repressive authoritarian regime in Beijing is acting like that. I mean, that's just the nature of these forms of government. Control information, always have a posture of being in control. They don't want to be embarrassed. And they're going to hide any kind of problems that might exist inside the country. So it really shouldn't come as a surprise. And it's also a warning that you can't trust what China is saying any more than what you can trust what Moscow is saying or North Korea or Iran. And we always have to verify information via second and third order sources.
Yeah, and, you know, Colonel, we reported a couple months ago that China was trying to grab the patent for remdesivir in January before the world knew what was going on. Then we're seeing reports China researchers are trying to attack Gilead's remdesivir as not working. So that's another story that's happening. To what you're saying, the Australian newspaper, the Saturday Telegraph, is reporting on a leaked, scathing rebuke of China by the Five Eyes Consortium of Intelligence, the U.S., UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, that China accidentally leaked COVID-19 from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Look at this. This is what they're finding. That China had a virus, been working on a virus just like the one that is broken loose in 2013, that they've been working on it for 7 years. You know, we saw this happen in 2004 when SARS-CoV broke out of a lab in Beijing and infected at least one person, may have killed 9 people. We've been here before, Colonel.
Well, yes. I mean, and all countries do some form of genetic research so as to come up with new vaccines and treatments. If you're concerned about bioterrorism or biowarfare, you know, how would you respond to that effectively with treatments? So the fact that they were working on it shouldn't be a surprise. The fact that they had lax protocols and something escaped the lab is a testament or a damnation of their competency in doing these sorts of things. So I guess, you know, it's not a surprise. It's an indication of the nature of this particular regime. And if you also follow that kind of reporting, they remove any instances of reporting from social media. They restrict the flow of information, especially to their own people, to maintain this facade of authority there in Beijing. And so this should really translate into the nature of the economic relationships we have, whether we allow China to build 5G infrastructure in places like the continent of Europe and certainly the United States. So everything needs to be taken with skepticism and some kind of a surety that we can validate or go to a second or third source to verify anything that Beijing says.
Yeah, it's happening now. Europe is pushing to effectively punish China, saying we don't want Huawei in here. That's what Germany and France is saying. We're seeing countries in Africa, certainly France, they're calling in their ambassadors, the Chinese ambassadors, saying, "What are you doing there in China?" Also we're seeing China held off informing the WHO that the coronavirus was a contagion, concealed that it was human to transmission. But how do you hold China accountable? I mean, again, the backlash against China is now growing around the world, and the WHO is blocking one of the biggest whistleblowers of all. Taiwan is still not allowed at WHO's table. So how do you go say to China and the WHO, stop it, we can't do this again, we can't have another pandemic like this?
Well, I think voters across countries observe behavior by the World Health Organization. Can you trust it? They observe behavior and truthfulness out of Beijing. Can you trust them? And the penalty imposed is, do you want to do business with a regime that behaves the way the Communist Party behaves out of China? So if you have a trade deal, if you have exported or outsourced your production, if you're always going for a lowest price, and then you find the person giving you the lowest price is a human rights violator, that they use essentially slave labor, subsidizing their currency and the products, serial theft of intellectual property. I mean, it's all consistent, right, in a pattern of behavior. So does a country, the United States, Germany, Great Britain, Australia, whomever, want to do business and provide wealth to that country that gives them that sort of advantage? So I think with 1.4 billion people, there are promises that Beijing has to make to its growing middle class. And to see a degrading of foreign financial investment in that country is going to be a serious penalty as we see these production lines and supplier bases leaving China and going elsewhere. So I think that's going to be the biggest cost imposed on China in the near future.
Yeah, that's happened even before the pandemic. They were moving supply chains out of China into other parts of Asia, including Vietnam. Colonel Wood, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service to our country. Great to have you on, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for the American public.
为什么强大的国家都会走向灭亡呢？古希腊、罗马帝国、不列颠帝国、美国，因为他们都犯同样的错误，与原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的经济衰退，巨额的所谓刺激开支。 庞大的医疗改革，政府接管私有企业，债务累累。当然，我们是他们的大债主。现在他们都得给我们干活。
I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government.
situation here at the White House on Friday where a member of the Vice President's staff tested positive for coronavirus, which has now caused 3 of the top U.S. officials involved in the coronavirus response to self-isolate. Two-part question. Where did the system break down to allow that to happen? And what would you say to employers who look at the experience here at the White House and say, are we ready for this?
I don't think the system broke down at all. One person tested positive, surprisingly, because the previous day tested negative, and 3 people that were in contact, relative contact, who I believe they've all tested totally negative, but they are going to, for a period of time, self-isolate. So that's not breaking down. It can happen. It's the hidden enemy. Remember that. It's the hidden enemy. So things happen. But the 3 tested negative. The one who tested positive will be fine. It will be absolutely fine. Yeah, John?
And what do you say, Mr. President, to other companies who may look at this and say, I don't know if we're ready for all this?
Well, I think, we have a lot of people in the White House, and we had one. Basically, we had one person. So we had a lot of people that
have crossed into a pinnacle point that will bring about massive changes as we know it. We must not give up our freedoms for their safety. We are the lighthouse, the last beacon of hope, the last great nation of truly free people. If we fail, the consequences will be felt not only by those here, but also by the ones yet to come. Be vigilant. Understand that all nation-states through history have capitalized on disasters and national emergencies to increase their control and rule of law. The end result is the people have even less freedoms than before and privacy. Do not believe everything the television tells you. There is a reason why it is called Tell a Lie to Your Vision. Do your own research, make your own judgments. Do not be just a simple node in their matrix. For the state, there is one primary imperative: to remain in power at all cost. If this imperative is to be successful, the state must impose, by stealth or deception, a system capable of monitoring all individuals who may pose an immediate or future threat to its dominance. I will leave you with these keywords you should look into and watch for. These are above top secret contingency plans. Keywords: Octagon, Free Yak, and Zodiac. Conplan 3400, Conplan 3500, Conplan 3600. Northcom General O'Shaughnessy. Warren or Defense Secretary Marty Esper. Washington, D.C. North Carolina. Eastern Maryland. Your normally scheduled program will continue in one moment. I will leave you with these wise words from Benjamin Franklin. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. A nation of sheep will be governed by wolves. Continue to seek the truth. We all live in lies. Sincerely, Ghost 3301, Ghost Sec.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportion. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense, the prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded.